She is now starting to eat, go away on those. All those issues Scarlet. But now she's realized that she gets lamb, that.
Life's gonna come.
Yeah. It's hard to believe they go from, got her at 4 months old, all she do is basically kennel life.
Yeah.
And now she's got orthopedic, that's totally, it's amazing.
Yeah.
The life that she went from to, she's doing now, doesn't know.
You say 4 months in Kenya.
Well, we got her from the breeder, but she still's with the breeder.
Oh,
All of her dogs are kennel. How many, but quite a few. So she was, yeah, that's all she needed for the first 4 months of her life, was that style of living. And now look at her, spoiled little brat.
I run mine every day. I take them to tissue bin. Or the wonderful parts are great parts to walk. Let the dog run.
Over,
Sometimes I go to the school.
it was terrible for the same schools that,
running fast and weren't anyone to get
Where I saw
I don't.
13 deer, but it was the same as 6. I saw that. I know it was the same ones. I don't know if the wolves are just in our area like this. No deer. Nothing.
Cannons on Saturday.
So I had one phone also. Sometimes it's just problem, or it's totally
So we can't.
My lab was another dog is like that. And then they
Turn the oven on, over 5 hours, turn the oven off. Oh, I'm sitting there.
In fact, let's see, was it yesterday I walked up in the,
Yeah, I've never done
in the campground.
Oh, that's really neat.
That's pretty nice.
You do it on the road.
Because I just walked down the hall,
And turn off the
but I kind of wanted to walk on the road. Yeah. And kind of.
I'm pretty good at cooking.
We had a big circle.
We had meats last night. We learned how to cut it and cows.
South of high school. It'll be high school. It's NN. And the one south of so what's a mile?
We're gonna do some holiday over Christmas. We're gonna turn on counties so they have that
Dog fights.
Which one can you look
And all of a sudden my dog turned into a fighter. At least we got 6 o'clock, so.
Don't ask. That I haven't been on in like 2 months now. And I might not even be doing that if I don't feel great.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. We'll stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll go through roll call. Tony? Ellen? Mike? Here. Larry? Here. Tracy?
President.
Josh is excused, I'm here.
and of course Kelly. This is a public hearing, discuss consideration possible approval of the 2024 proposed budget. Did everybody get a copy of the budget that wanted a copy? Okay, they're available over there. Let me just run through it a little bit. Property taxes went up a little bit. As you know, we were required to have a reval in the village by the state. And, you know, you can go down through there. Licenses and permits are down a little bit. Intergovernmental revenue is down a little bit. Public charge is up a bit. Forfeitures, penalties, basically even. Intergovernmental charge for services is down some, and other revenue is up a little bit. Go down to expenditures. General government is down 1.98. Public safety, police and fire is down 0.683. Public works is down 1.94. Health and human sources is down 21.61. Planning and development stays the same. Culture and recreation up just a little bit, and then debt service is up a little bit. When you go to public safety, the fire department had some really nice grants last year that are not in here this year. That affects that quite a bit. And of course, they were able to replace a lot of their EMT equipment, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, and you guys, you won't get anywhere near that this year, will you, as
No.
far as, and that was the aid package, so. Okay. All right, does anybody have any questions regarding the budget? Try to answer for you.
Joe, would that also be considered public comment too?
Yeah, it's under, you know, basically the public hearing where they can make their comments and ask questions about the budget, yes. And if you notice here on this, we're able to put away another $50,000, and that'll go towards roads and our capital expenditure. So hopefully we can get some kind of roads done this year. Of course, we dropped the mill rate from 8.24 to 6.1, which helps out some. I don't know where everybody ended up on taxes. Some people's went down, some went up, according to the average of how it went, you know. The only place we really were able to get any extra revenue was in new construction. Board have any questions? Anyone have any questions regarding the budget?
What did you say the mill rate was
6.1,
from?
8.24. It's on your front sheet here.
Which I don't think they
I
have.
don't think we have those.
Oh,
Where?
would you like them?
Yeah, I'm sure somewhere else.
We can sure make them. Of course, in public safety, you know, it's police and fire. Health and human services is for cemetery, and culture and recreation is the library and the celebrations.
Joe, what did you say 23 was? 8.21?
824.
824.
The assessed value went from like 183 million to 255,787, which was a 28.45% increase.
We do have some people that are interested in developing them up on the interchange up there. They're working through all the details now. One is very close in closing everything, and and then they'll be open next year up off of National. There's somebody interested in the property behind the park and ride. We haven't heard too much about that. You know, we'll find out more as it goes along and they get their stuff they have. And then there's also somebody interested in the property up off of
Thank you.
164 and Town Line, up in that area. So, and these are all people that at this point don't necessarily need water and sewer. The one behind the park and ride may need water. Fortunately, our well is right in that area. So we may be able to do that. Just for general information. Did people in the crowd get it if they want it?
There's some.
There's extra copies there.
Okay. Yes.
I've got a question, it's about the $5 million debt.
Okay.
I don't know if you can answer it. Can you tell how far down we are on that?
Do you have the numbers there? It's 4 something.
I need to go in there.
She'll get it for you, though.
I don't have the exact number, it's just closer to 4 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's down to about 4.
We can get you exact number if you want. It's just 4 something.
No, I was just curious as to, you know, whether it's going
It's,
down.
it's coming down, yeah. That's a slow nut there.
How many years have passed since this debt?
2013,
There's a full timeline if you'd like.
So it was
Sure,
like
but-
10 years?
in 10 years, it'll be done in 2034.
Got like another 10 to go, yeah.
Jeff, would it be okay if I just kind of go down the timeline of that?
Sure.
The amounts that we had. So I'm going to go back to 2010 and then really go back any further than that because it's tough to try to find any information on it. So 2010 is whenever the fire department was started out. It's whenever they started incurring debt off of the fire department and just kind of moving forward from there. So the Vernon buyout for the fire department was $480,000 plus the building and equipment, and the debt as of 2019 off of that startup was about $625,000 of the debt. Between 2012 and 2014, and this was explained by President Sonnenberg, I found the records on it in 2018, kind of where stuff had come from. It was an answer from questions that I had produced at that time. The debt was sitting at $5.148 million. So of that, the breakdown that I was told by then President Sonnenberg, $1.4 million of that was from the sewer that was laid underneath the 164 road. $900,000 of that was for the Edgewood reconstruction, the Edgewood interchange reconstruction, of Edgewood itself. $1.19 million from Industrial Drive, improvements done back into the industrial park and the road and the understructure. $553,000 of that was for Highway 164, and that was part of the reconstruction, the curb and gutter that's put in as well. $105,000 of that was the Village Hall parking lot and general road reconstruction around here. $840,000 of that was from street improvements in 2013-ish, kind of went into 2014, but $840,000 for certain streets that got improved, and $160,000 for new radios. Okay, and I'm assuming that would be across from fire and police, most likely. So that kind of started off the debt between 2012 and 2014. There was just interest payments as needed that were made from 2014 through for the next few years. 2015 to 2018, there was a series of high interest loans that were taken out to meet payroll in the fourth quarters of the year, showing that there's 122,000 of that as of 17, in June of 2017. So that was because they couldn't meet revenue budgets during that time period, and they had to take out additional monies, higher interest rates. Those were also not being paid off until a little bit later on. So in 2018, this all came to light with a financial audit regarding the 2015-2016 years. And at that point, we had reached what's called, I want to make sure that I have this right, it's called the total equalized value for general obligations, and you can only have a certain borrowing capacity that meets up to less than 5%, no more than 5% of that total. Unfortunately, they had met that up to about 92 to 95%, however you took a look at it, but it was reaching the uttermost total, and they could not take out any they couldn't take out any more loans by the state. Otherwise, we would be too far in debt, the state could come in and potentially shut us down for too much debt. So during that time period, 2018 to 2019, the decision was made to raise the village property tax. The property tax across those 2 years was raised by 33%. This was to try to meet the obligations on the pending debts, try to keep programs still alive, and then also just basically keep a roof over our heads. So this is where it started to change. In 2019, the debt had not seen any significant changes. $250,000 budget deficit was found by auditors and corrected for the 2020 budget, which even threw us a little bit deeper into it. So from 2020 till now, the debt has been whittled down from that original 5.148 million, give or take a little bit, down to closer to $4 million. Right now, our balloon payments paying off now the principal and not just the interest is encroaching $500,000 per year. It is by far and wide the largest budget item that we have. That's our taxes. It's going back to pay for the debt that was incurred from that time period that I just went through. Okay? So right now, if we keep going at the same rates that we're paying off, it's going to continue to balloon up a little bit more, so that 500,000 will become about 530, 540, and then level off until 2034. We have 11 years left to pay off our current debt to get us to zero if we don't incur any more debt. That's where we're at as of right now.
Has anyone chipped in on this? I'm talking about counties, state.
So,
You know, everybody benefits
Go ahead.
off of this new road. You can go up there and watch traffic go by. They're coming off from all directions. I want to know why nothing was contributed to Big Bend for doing this.
I guess I wasn't here during the time period, maybe you can help us out, Gene. I would guess the state, since it's a state road, would
State
pitch
what?
in,
State 164 was over a $10 million project.
I would guess they would chip in some for that, correct?
They chipped in a lot for that.
Yeah.
We were responsible for the sidewalks and parking lanes for that project.
curb and gutter.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they did put in quite a bit, Bill.
So, Bill, just to kind of further that a little bit too, the state does chip in every year for road repairs. It's what's based upon what's called the PASER ratings. So, and I have an article here, I'd be more than happy to have this printed off for you. This is out of the municipality, which we all get, and it's available for you to read as well. And this is coming from state level project managers, senior consultants, people of that nature. But the state of Wisconsin has a DOT program that basically gives local municipalities dollars to spend on road repair. The first thing that happens with that is that it goes through what's called the PASER ratings, which is the Pavement Surface Evaluation and Rating Program. So every year, DPW goes out and they drive all the streets and they look at it, how broken apart it is, how many potholes, how new it is, other things of that nature, and rate it between 0 and 10. 0 is like a dirt gravel road, and 10 is something that's just been repaved like yesterday. So in our village, and I don't have this information directly in front of me, but almost half of our roads are below a 4. And we have roads that are down around a 2 and a 1, things that haven't been touched for maintenance in years and decades. So we get a certain amount of money in from the state to help us pay for some of that. Now that money that's given to us comes through a couple of different systems, but the way that we get paid that money is through a fund that state level budgetary numbers give, and we get a fraction of that general transportation aid, the GTA, based upon how much we've spent on the roads in the prior years. So for instance, the budget for DPW to repair our roads has been $12,000 for the last few years. Now there's other stuff that chips into that, but the basic money, the Paiser money that comes in, has been used for other things. It goes into the general budget. Jeff, please correct me if I'm wrong, but that money basically goes to help pay for law enforcement and fire and all the other programs that we help sustain.
And we did take in the last 2 years, we did Cherry Street up there with the Village of Vernon. This last year, we did major repairs on Big Bend Drive, the old Big Bend Drive, put in 3 new culverts that were required, and then we paved about a half mile of road up there.
So
We couldn't do the whole thing, but we did do quite a bit there. So,
I know there's a lot of Vernon that intertwines with Big
oh,
Bend.
yeah.
so like,
Is Vernon actually helping?
They do their-
where we have the shared roads, like for instance, Sherry, and whenever that was paved, they did 95% of that road.
Pretty much, yeah.
We split about a quarter mile of that road. We take the north side and they take the south side, where we're obliged to take care of the maintenance on it. So they could have just went ahead and just paved the south side of that quarter mile, and then the rest, both north and south sides of Sherry. But that would really be dumb, because our side would continue to fall apart and then detriment their side as well. So we chipped in the money to be able to pay for our portion of it during that. So that's part of the shared services approach that we've been looking at to see where we can do it. But they're only obligated to pay for a certain amount of roads, and it's where the division lines are that were drawn whenever we kind of reached out and took different parts of the unincorporated Vernon area. We took responsibility for those roads. that
I'm gonna
interconnect
correct
those.
you on that.
Go for it.
It's when the residents of those areas reached out to the village to come to the village.
My correction, I did kind of say that incorrect. Sorry about that.
So, yeah, Vernon does take and they do take and help with that. And they, from what I understand, they do about two to three roads a year. They have a lot larger tax base than we do, and with less debt. So, and that's what we're trying to get to, where we can, well, even like this year, we can put a little bit more into roads, and we do have some in there already. And then hopefully the next year and the next year, and catch up a little bit.
Yeah, and that's actually one of my talking points tonight. So we've got $50,000 set aside that can go into what's called an LGIP. LGIP, can you please help me with that acronym?
Local government investment pool.
Okay, so basically this is a savings account at the bank that's gathering some interest on it.
It's at the state level?
At the state level, okay. And it's pooled, so you can put money into that, and then whenever you need to withdraw it to work on projects, you can. It's kind of like a Christmas fund, or anything else that you may have, an interest account, whatever it might be, savings account. So we can put money aside, and this is where we would start allocating basically the capital reserves to be able to go out and do stuff. So one of the things I asked sitting on DPW this year, along with Josh that's being able to be here tonight, but we asked for an evaluation of all of the roads, not just for a Paiser rating of 0 to 10, but how much it would take to fix everything. So the roads that are considered critical right now in the next 5 years, it's right at about a little bit over $4.5 million to try to repair those roads to bring them back up to speed. By the time we're going to be able to hit those roads, it means other roads are now degrading down to the level where we're going to have to fix those. And today's dollar is not going to be tomorrow's dollar, or 5 years from now, you're not going to be able to buy as much stuff. My estimate to try to get the roads together the critical roads that need to happen to be able to continue to consider them roads is about $6 million over the next 5 years. If we go at a pace of $50,000 set aside, it's going to be $250,000 in 5 years to be able to pay for that. It's not sustainable. We're going to have roads that will be untravelable. We will not be able to get emergency services down those roads as easily, and it could jeopardize people's health and safety. That's where we stand on the roads.
I know where I live on Marion Avenue, which joins with St. Joseph's. I know that that road was done, I don't know if it was 10 or 15 years ago. 10? Well, that road there is already starting to fall apart. But you also have people coming through with school buses that are tearing up the road. You also have somebody that lives on that road. Well, he's retired now, but he did a good number on the road. Last name Peters. Hauling trucks and so on through that whole area. And that's why the road is going to hell. But you got a school there. I don't understand why the school, they could afford to pay their parking lot, parking their buses in the parking lot and going out on L. That road was never paid for that. I remember when my kids went to school there, they would not allow a bus on that road. But that's what's happening. I just want to bring that up because that road probably would not be in the shape it's getting in if you're familiar with the area. I've gone through all of Big Bend within the past month to look at the roads. I know where some of the worst ones are. You go on the other side of 164 and everything over there's falling apart.
Yeah, that's our worst area over there. There's no doubt about that, and they haven't had attention for a long time. But, you know, I think from what I understand, talking to different road people and the DPW guy, your garbage truck is one of the toughest things on your road.
Right.
Of course, they're right on the edge of the road, and they have got as much weight in there as anybody, so.
Yeah. And
It's a catch-22, Bill. It's just, at some point, as we get debt paid down, we're probably gonna have to add some so we can just repair these roads.
I wanted to ask this board too, are you guys afraid to raise taxes?
Well, not necessarily afraid to, we just soon not.
why, well, I guess my question is, can you explain that a little more? Because we just went through within the past few years of
Right,
raised
right.
3%.
I've written down my taxes, what they've been since 2016.
Mhm.
To me, it's like a little jumping beat, like that, going nowhere. I expected them to go up. That's my whole point of it. I mean, if I would run for trustee, I'd have to tell the people of Big Bend, your taxes are gonna have to go up. Period. Whether you like it or not.
Which is one of the options, but you also have to consider that one of the things that we need to do to be able to continue to get more tax base in, because the state doesn't really give us much of anything, honestly, they just don't. Federal, even less. Our income that we have to deal with is based upon taxes on property and the improvement in those properties. To be able to get more tax base, we need to have more base to get those taxes. That means to bring more people in, to develop houses, to develop properties with businesses on top of them, to develop stuff up there. And one of the biggest hindrances is the fact that let me just kind of show you where things are. This is all based on what's called a mill rate. Have you ever heard of a mill rate? Okay. So you have your local municipality mill rate. You've got kickers from school districts and other levies that might go into that. You've got it from the state, county level. There's a whole bunch of different things in. But if you look at it from dollar to dollar, our mill rate for this village has always consistently been one of the highest in the states. At one point, we were the third highest in the state. In the state, not in the county, but in the state. So in 2022, our mill rate was 8.397, and it just kind of keeps going along a little bit. We brought that down to 8.24 in 23. We're at 6.1 is what we're looking at doing this year. So that means 6.1 is $6.10 per $1,000 of assessed value. So you can start kind of doing the math on what properties and improvements cost and where that tax comes from. The comparison here, and this is where it gets really, really difficult to start trying to say we need to raise taxes, is the fact that Muskego was sitting at a 3.80%, whenever we were at 8.39. We were at 8.4, they were at a 3.8. That means that we were almost 3 times as high as them on our taxes. If I was a business and I wanted to consider either moving to here to put in a big box store, or I might want to move to Muskego, I would not only want to take a look at things like what my tax rate is, but whether I have water and sewer and improved roads that could be handed to me so I don't have that cost to worry about. And if I can step one exit down and have sewer, water, and taxes that are 33% of the taxes that I looked at in Big Bend, what do you think my goal is going to be? What do you think I'm going to do? I can save millions of dollars by not investing in Big Bend. So I caution anybody. I'm probably not going to be here after this term is up. You guys can celebrate. I caution anybody that comes in, they better well understand that economic development is all about taxes and what you can present to draw people in. And if we're this high, even though we've brought it down this year, but you're already starting to want to consider to run for office and raise taxes, it's going to be so detrimental to this municipality. We're going to continue to spin our wheels right where we're at.
Do you guys still use a financial advisor?
Do we?
Yeah.
And Bob, you bring up a great point. So we don't. We have an auditor, because that's a state required thing that we have to bring an auditor in and take a look at the budget last year or a couple of years ago, audit it through to make sure that money doesn't disappear someplace and know exactly where we're at. Nobody on this board has any type of financial background. We are not CPAs, certified public accountants, or otherwise. I have suggested that we need to pay someone to come in and advise us on how to
Well, you
spend our
have a
money.
financial advisor, I thought you did, Ehlers.
Well, yeah, we have Ehlers, yes.
Well, that's who helped us when we did all the roads, because we're not gonna be sitting on $5 million to do roads. They helped us get the funding.
Yeah, so we still have Ehlers, and we brought them in, and of course, our auditors, Baker Tilly, we work with them.
Well, last time I talked to that John from Ehlers, he said you guys hadn't contacted him for a year and a half.
Oh, what's her name that we deal with?
So that's with the TIF district, and they keep us straight on that, but there's no investment into the TIF district, so we haven't had to reach out to Ehlers about anything. We don't have anything in this year's budget, we didn't have anything in last year's budget to put in accounting other than something with Ehlers just to do the maintenance on this TIF district, even though we have no income coming in from it, or expenditures for that matter. It's one of a laundry list of things I have
The sewer, if we would have had a sewer, we would have Fleet Farm up there.
Sure,
There's
$15
no
million
doubt about it.
investment.
$15 million.
Yeah,
$15
well,
million
I'm
for
just
sewer and
saying,
water.
you guys did you buy your house with cash? You had like an investment
Well,
thing?
we
You
couldn't
had-
borrow that.
We couldn't borrow, we were at our cap limits.
Well, I don't know about that number, I don't agree with that number, because I
Right
talked
here
to
it
that
is.
guy.
I'll print this off for you, you can write it nice for you. It's all right there. We couldn't borrow any.
Because I agree
bonds.
with Phil, I might live in a crappy little house, but my taxes have not, I'm paying probably the same what I was paying, maybe slightly more, like 30 years ago.
So one of the reasons, because that we haven't had a reassessment since what, 2009?
It's been quite a while.
8 or 9.
Yeah, so that's why, and can you read those numbers off again, Larry, of how much we increased in our total value as a municipality?
In 2023, the assessed value for the village was $183,020,700. After this current reevaluation this year, that went up to $255,787,200, which was a 28.45% increase.
So one of the things that hurt us was the fact that there was not a reassessment done from like 2009 until 2023. There was no reassessed values. There was nothing to say that the value on your property went up. There was nothing to say the value on my property went up. It not only gives you curbside value, but it gives you how much the taxable value is on your property and your improvements. If you don't raise that up, then nobody's paying extra taxes. It just divvies up and down on whatever you decide on the mill rate. That's the only reason that it went up back in 2018, 2019, was because the mill rate changed. So now we've reassessed. We know that we've got over $250 million worth of value, but we need to continue to still grow that. The land that sat vacant up there by the interchange, 164 and 43, is valuable property. We need to get that developed. We need to attract people in to try to get that tax base more without us all having to
And I know
pay.
you guys
back
work
over.
on the former board, which is us, but that's been our thoughts all along.
Yeah.
That's where we're gonna get we have to raise our income, because can't just raise taxes on everybody, so we need more income.
Exactly, and that's where we're at. But it's that devil in the details of where we're at and why it's, that all Vernon has to do is just wave the thing around and go, hey, we're sitting at 3.3%, 3.3 on the mill rate, whenever we're at 8.4 last year. So,
But you're not comparing apples to apples.
why not?
You have to look at exactly what the Village of Big Bend service-wise is providing. You can't just look at Vernon and say, well, their tax rate is this. Well, what services do they provide? You have to do that. It's like saying, well, I got a Cadillac. Well, I've got this.
Well, okay,
You
so
have to-
let's look at the
you have-
services.
You have to look at the level of services for
Okay.
each thing.
But if I can build on the south side of the road for this much, and on the north side of the road for this much less, you're
But yeah.
basically gonna get the same services.
They have a fire department, we have a fire department. They have police services, we have police services. I know it's the level of value as attainable to what everybody wants. We challenged the fire department. We challenged the police department. Everybody wants the way status quo where we have it for the police and fire. What else do we have? We have part-time staff that's basically running the village administration. We've got one full-time employee with DPW. I say that it's the level of what we want in services, absolutely. But we also have to take care of the infrastructure, the roof over our heads, which is another point I have. We have no set aside for building, like major building reconstruction. Someday this roof is not going to be structurally sound anymore, and we're gonna have to fix it. We got nothing for it right now.
It's looking pretty shabby outside.
So it's just that's part of the equation of where do we go from here on revenue versus expenditures, level of programs that we have versus levels of program that we need. I've got a laundry list of things that we need to consider. And these aren't luxury items by any means. I mean, is it okay if I just kind of keep going?
Yes, please do.
So we just talked about the accountant, and this is in no order, but it's just the way that my brain just put it down on the paper. So we talked about needing an accountant to tell us how to spend our money, to give us advisement of where that thin razor edge line is between how much tax can we put onto the general public and businesses without the breaking point. It's supply and demand, economics, but we need somebody to be able to help us through that. Speaking of economics, we need economic development team. We need somebody that can market Big Bend and say, this is the place that you need to build, to go out and attract the businesses to take a look at us. With that, there's something called a comprehensive plan
This comprehensive plan basically lays out 25 years of where we want to grow as a community. They go around, they take surveys, they base those surveys back in and find out what the general public is looking for, the level of, the amount of restaurants we have, the amount of bars we have, the gas stations that we have, things of that nature, and they produce all this stuff to basically give us an envisionment of where we want to lead for the future. What do we, not the people sitting in this room, but the general public, everybody out there want up on 164 and 43? It might surprise all of us on what the general public, the people that don't come to the meetings here, probably don't know any of our names, are looking for. But we don't know that. That plan, we got a cost on it, $40,000. We got nothing in the budget to cover that. Nothing. Zero. So we're going to sit here and not have a comprehensive plan. The last one we drew up was 2005, I think. Doesn't do us a lick of good. That's way too old. We need to do these every 5 years or so. And that's also a commercial thing to be able to attract people in. They can look at the comprehensive plan and see if it fits what their plan is. So now we're starting to talk about office coverage. One of the biggest complaints I hear about everybody is the fact that we can't have full-time office hours here at the front desk. No offense to you, Kel, or anybody else that's up there. Ladies work part-time. It's all they can work is part-time. It's not because of our budgetary restrictions, it's because of their restrictions. In order for us to get full-time folks in there, we advertised for the better part of 2 years? It's probably still floating out there someplace. What we can offer for that position, with no benefits, by the way. Sorry to everybody that's employed by the village, but we don't have any benefits. That would cost us over $100,000 to try to put that together. We don't have the money for that, I'm sorry. But to attract a full-time administrative clerk in, not even looking at it from the treasurer level, City of Muskego 6-8 months ago advertised for a junior position. They were looking for somebody that was just out of college, less than a year of experience, basically working the desk and starting to grow their resume and being able to grow their portfolio and know how municipalities work. They were offering, what were they offering the position at? Was it 40?
No, it's close to 60 or
60? Okay, so their total was closer to $80,000 for that junior person plus full-time benefits. Now, how are we going to get somebody that needs to take care of everything here full-time with a lot of experience, because we wouldn't have the opportunity to grow them for a couple of years? How can we compete with somebody like Muskego that's offering that for a junior position right directly out of college?
Did they ever have a full-time?
Well, they have several full-time people. They have an entire
Here.
financial department. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
What happened to
Brad
her?
Calder,
Elena was
oh,
here.
Elena was the last one, yeah. She left for a better paying position at another
With
municipality.
benefits.
With benefits.
With
benefits is probably the biggest thing in this equation.
Same thing with Brad Calder too.
And when they left, we brought in 3 gals from, 2 primarily from the village of Waukesha. And all of those gals were over 80,000 with benefits.
So I'm sorry to say that I'm in a dead-end position here on trying to figure out how to do a Monday through Friday full office coverage, because we can't attract anybody in that wants to do that position for what we can offer. That's going to give us anything besides messing up our books, messing up our administrative, and making all of our lives a living heck. Okay?
And Vernon just hired their new head over there in the office at 120 plus benefits.
120,000.
It's hard to compete with.
So
we're very fortunate to have 3 gals.
So you talking about Brad?
Yeah,
Yeah, because he's the administrator too.
yeah, he runs the office over there. and everything.
he's making.
But he's the head of that over there. So. But, like I say, we're very fortunate to have the 3 gals we do have and can come in and do this. And then, the deal is they're all on state retirement, and they can only work X amount of hours, in a rolling 1,200 hours. And so that's why you don't have them here, all the time.
So, just kind of moving on here into some other stuff, DPW, we've got the DPW director, and that's the only full-time employee. We have 2 part-time employees, one's semi-retired, he comes in whenever necessary, and then there's a part-time guy that is mostly just summer help, but he's stayed on to try to help the director for a while. We can't attract anybody into that position, because there's no benefits and it's low pay,
You mean part-time?
part-time.
The
Well,
full-time?
we're looking for a full-time
Even
person,
part-time, it's hard to get somebody.
That's in Public Works.
yes.
And our.
You have one full-time,
One full-time, that's the director. That's
one
Mike Peterson.
part-time?
And one part-time, and one that's kind of even
During
more
the summer.
part-time. Yeah,
And one of our guys down there that's been with us the
very
longest
seasonal.
is retiring in May. And he's the only other one that has a CDL that helps us with plowing streets, so, you know, we did take and add a little bit extra into the DPW wage budget, just so that we can attract somebody to come in
I don't think
and
it's
help out
enough.
with that. I don't think it's enough
I
either,
don't think it's enough at all.
but we gotta,
We gotta try, but it's where we're at. So, okay, so going on here. Talking about DPW, let's talk about infrastructure repair. I talked about PASER ratings and I talked about the set aside that we have for the roads. Now, we've got a little bit in LGIP, the savings account for roads, but it doesn't amount to much. At $50,000, which we're going to set aside this year, it only gets us to $250,000 over 5 years, where we need closer to $6 million. That's to keep people's roads, your road, and everybody else's out there. Go drive Bronx. Bronx a disaster.
I've been down there.
You know, it's with, we don't even have enough budget to get glue to hold what we got left in the roads together, honestly. I mean, the glue it's a mastic material, I'm not.
That's
kidding
what they
about this.
poured recently.
Yeah, that's the only thing they have the budget to do. I mean, it was up and beyond to do what we did this year on Big Bend, to replace out the culverts that were disintegrated. Those culverts were gone, there was nothing left of them.
How long is that glue supposed to last?
If the road's good, it's supposed to last quite a while. If the road's crap, it's not gonna keep it
it's
together.
better than the crack sealing that was done. You know, it's a big.
I've seen
big
it
patch.
poured in,
Yeah.
but it does shrink.
So,
And it all scrapes off when it's plowed and stuff like that. But, you know, when you're on a limited budget, that's
that's what you got. So,
what you can do.
so building repairs.
And that stuff is $6.81 a pound.
And
And that's not including the labor or the equipment used to rent the, put it down.
So building repairs, one of the things that nobody wants to consider is the fact that we're still having to buy new lights off of We Energies. We have a program that we have to get all the lights changed over to LED. We're not there yet, and we're still paying them out, sometimes as much as $20,000 a year. $20,000 for lights, for the structures, We Energies, and then they charge for it after that. Thank you, We Energies, but it's what we as a municipality and everybody else has to do. 20 grand's a hit. It's gonna be there for a while. So we don't, so building repairs, we're talking about HVAC systems. I know that the fire department has some issues down in their warehouse, right? You have some water issues, I think, don't you? Or humidity or something?
One of our furnaces is down.
All right, well, there's something else. So it's all stuff that builds into it, but we have no set aside for anything more than just ordinary building maintenance every year. Low level budget. We got nothing if we have damage or if somebody backs into one of these doors and causes structural damage, we got nothing. So now capital reserves, just kind of leading on into this. You know, capital reserves for equipment, personnel, we just don't really have it in the way that I'm talking about, but there's other capital reserves that we need to consider. And one, and it's a very not popular subject, is the hazardous waste landfill that we currently still have in the village. The hazardous waste landfill, it's, everybody should know where it's at, it's off of Edgewood. That landfill was created back numerous days ago, but we're now responsible for helping to clean up with that. We've been named for the last 20 years as a responsible party from the state of Wisconsin. The state of Wisconsin has mandated that us and Vernon, it's called the Vernon landfill, but we operated it,
we
And the current landowner,
No, we didn't operate it.
by the state we did, yes.
It was Vernon that actually operated it, and we were part of the group, because they were the ones that maintained everything. They're the ones that put the cap on and everything.
The three parties that's been named by the state, and it was directed towards you whenever you were president, way back in the day, and it's been sent out a couple of times more, is the village of Big Bend, the village of Vernon, and the current landowner.
What do they want us to do?
It needs to get remediated. We have to give them a plan. Nobody even knows how far out the waste goes. There's never been full, what's called delineation on that site. It's where you go and you figure out where all the waste is. So a year and a half ago, Jeff, was it? Or was it 2 years ago?
Well, how,
The state said that we had to develop a remedial action plan unless they were going to come in and basically force it down our throats to do it, because that's the state law. We've been able to fend them off, but we have no set aside to do any studies to try to sustain any type of financial impact that's going to happen when the state does come in on this.
That was June or July of last year.
Yeah, well, the remedial action part of it was
It
it,
kind of
was it
extends
last year?
out, we've been kicking that ball down, but, you know, there will be hopefully some grants that we can get to help, they can help clean it up, but it's gonna be a multi-million-dollar cleanup there.
But we don't even have a set aside to get the environmental people that we need to try to form.
Where is this located? On Edgewood. On Edgewood?
And Peterson Way,
Yeah,
Oh,
Between
there?
Lake Park and.
Okay.
so it's a
I
5
mean, that thing has
year.
been closed for 50 years. Why are we talking about it?
It's a state known issue. It's been a state known issue. They've served us the letter since 2005, I think was the first time.
They come
Right
and
at
inspect it
2005.
every year to see what's being done.
But there's known hazardous waste in the landfill.
It's been drilled down into and they found different contaminants there. So, and as you know, with all the media stuff, and it's more out there today than it ever has been. You know, that all these kind of things, they want it cleaned up because of the groundwater and stuff like that.
I mean, they check the groundwater because it runs south, southeast, and they check wells. I mean, Vernon was all over us about that when we were putting in your subdivision.
Yeah, so the groundwater, I went back and I looked at over 1,000 pages of documents that I could find from both Big Bend, Vernon, from the state, different studies, different things, and the groundwater, whenever I first moved in, it was told to me that groundwater moves southwest, down towards the river. And that was stated by several different entities, but I've found other studies that said they've found that the groundwater migrates directly east. And I found another study that says it goes southeast. And I found another one that says it goes south.
And we were always told it went south, southeast.
Yeah. So, and the problem is that the modern day studies are not there. This is all stuff from 20, 25 years ago. A lot of things have changed except for the fact that contamination still sits down there, but nobody knows where it's at,
which way it's going.
and where it's going, and how it's getting there. One of the problems, Bob, that happened was whenever they shut down the Muskego Sanitary Landfill, because they took in a lot of very heavy industrial waste from the city
They
of
used to have,
Milwaukee.
they used to have paint pits on the side of the road.
Yeah, even that.
That's why that's a
yeah.
Superfund site.
So whenever they shut that down, guess where they put it? They brought it on out to Big Bend landfill and dumped it there.
Now that's the one off of Crowbar?
No.
Yeah.
The Crowbar, yeah, that's the Muskego Sanitary Landfill. It became an EPA Superfund site.
Yeah.
Federal government had to step in to clean that up. They're still out there. They still have remedial systems in effect on it. So we have this as a problem. We also need to talk about set-asides for fire department, police department equipment, capital expenditures, capital reserves. We have none. We got a little bit for the police. There's a little bit of set-aside for a new squad car. It was talked about that the new squad car will most likely be looked at in 2 years, less than 2 years.
25.
Yeah, so, yeah, 2 years. We don't there's a little bit of money out there, more so than what the fire department has, but not enough to cover it at this point. We don't have any set asides, capital reserve plans for this year for either group. Okay? I know that the fire department has got some SCBA's and other things that's going to be coming due here before too long, but we don't have any financial plans to handle that hit. SCBA packs are up to what, $7,000, $8,000 these days? I just looked at some on the industrial side, it's closer to $9,000. They got really cool heads-up display and
That's
stuff.
why,
but-
that's why they're $9,000.
Wow. I don't, yeah. So there's other stuff. So now I want to pop back and talk about the TIF just a little bit. Up at the top, tax, incremental fund, is that what it's called? We've got until 2033, I think, at this point. That's the sunset date on this whole thing where you can get tax incentives for building up there. So we've got 10 years left in the plan. Right now, this last year, we took some of the federal money that came in because of COVID and turned it around to be able to do some water studies. We found where there's good water to drill a hole and get municipal water if we need it for development up there, but we don't put anything in the budget to try to continue the water study, to get the next phase done. There's nothing in there for it. To be able to develop water up there is millions of dollars, but the next phase is about 50, 60,000, I think, to continue down the road of development on it. We got nothing. Cemetery expansion set aside. So we have an LGIP for the cemetery, but it's got some good money in there, but not enough to do what we need to do. I'm being told we're running low on plots. There's not a lot of plot territory left on the upper section of that. Goes down a hill, it goes into what's currently the cornfield or whatever they grew this last year down there, and that's the second half of the cemetery. To be able to develop roads down there and continue that cemetery and the path that it needs to go is going to cost some money. We have no set aside for that. We have no plans for it at this point, other than the fact that it was presented this last year and it was talked about that we were going to have to get money for it. But we have nothing in the budget for it next year, zero. Okay? I don't know if we are obligated to keep that cemetery open. I mean, we have to continue
Yeah.
perpetually to take care of it. But I don't know on expansion if we could just say no moss once it's full up top. DPW Director Eric Peterson, he still thinks that there's a chance that we can start pushing back towards the power line more. But that's a fight with ATC that's probably not going to get won. They've got their rights for their easement rights through there, and believe me, they've got a ton more attorney power than we do. Which
Jamie, I think that was something you were working on, right?
Me and Jeff Salchuk.
Any progress there at all?
with ATC. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, we got no set aside for that. We don't have anything. So all we're doing right now, and I just want this envisionment out there as we take a look at this budget and future budgets, if I'm part of it or not. We have to look at the programs that we have, the quality of life that Big Bend has, and the quality of life that everybody wants here in Big Bend, and we have to make sure that we give everybody the best chance to have that as possible. All this stuff that I'm talking about here is what municipalities have to provide for quality of life to their residents. You know, it's great that we have what we have, but there's other things that people have come to me and said, God, I wish my road was repaired. I wish I had a functional road outside of my house. This area floods all the time. You know, this happens and that happens, and we can't do anything on the infrastructure. Why am I coming in on a Friday and the office is closed? I'm sorry, I can't do anything about that at this point. Have we ever gotten a full-time crosswalk guard?
Nope.
You guys are still having to cover that, right?
Yeah, we got one guy in the morning, and then we got it covered in the afternoon.
So it's somebody outside of law enforcement that's doing it in the morning. Okay.
Yeah, he's a resident here in the village that wanted to help out.
Great.
He's doing a great
That's
job.
awesome. Fantastic. God bless him, he needs eyes in the back of his head for that intersection. So it's just, there's other things out there that I'm missing. I mean,
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely, go.
That wheel loader,
Yeah,
why do we have that? Are we done paying with that? Paying on that thing? The wheel loader, the big loader.
We're still paying on it. That thing saves us a ton of money.
Yeah, but when he wanted to buy that, it was so we wouldn't have to buy a plow truck. Now, 2 years later, we ended up buying a plow truck.
Well, that's
And you
because
can't plow that road.
the plow trucks
Need
were
to
so
sell
old
it.
they were falling apart. You know, we had to get rid of the one. 'cause
But I mean, he was gonna use that loader with that big giant push
Yeah, and he
box
does,
on there.
he does use it and
You
it.
can't salt with that.
I know, that's
it's
why I thought
salted.
it was a stupid idea in the first place.
But we do cut down our time as far as,
I mean, it's a
Yeah.
nice big ladder for putting up, flags and stuff at the 4th of July, but that's about it.
it saves us a lot of money, Bob, for when we get out and we plow with that thing. We can go down a street, one sweep, we can cut that ice and snow off, so we don't use
I-
near.
I've
He does
watched-
2 sweeps by us.
I've watched
He
it.
doesn't do it just once.
I've
Well,
watched
and that
it
may
do
be because he's trying not to just fill one side of the driveways with,
I think
massive
he
amounts of-
took out somebody's mailbox.
so right now for the capital expenditure on the John Deere loader, we're paying,
You don't even have nothing on the budget for that.
no, we do, it's on,
Yeah, it's-
I think it's on page 11, on the final one that came out.
Yeah, I was looking at 17.
usually $1,400 or $1,500
15 and
per month.
Yeah, it's 18,800 is the expected budget for 23. So I talked to Eric about that. Whenever he did Big Bend Road, he used that loader so that he didn't have to pay for it to move stuff around from a contractor. And he said he probably saved $5,000 or $6,000 doing that. He was able to try to whittle things down. I'm not trying to cover for the fact that we have it, but I explicitly asked that question about the John Deere loader and the plow truck. The plow truck, we're looking at $34,200 in depreciation on it for, or cost of payments in 23. That's the estimate.
That replaced a 20-year-old plow truck. That was
Yeah.
rusting.
I mean, for that culvert, Ross's grading was up there most of the time, and
Yep.
then they had, City Waukesha came and did all the
Yep.
finish work.
When we sold the other plow truck, that money went against to pay it down, yes.
Yes.
Yes. It was like $57,000.
57.
But, you gotta replace this stuff, on a fairly regular basis. Whether it be police vehicles, DPW vehicles, fire vehicles or whatever. And, to take and buy used equipment and have it last for 20, 25 years, it just doesn't work. But this here truck and that plow will last us a fair amount of time now.
I just remembered the sales pitch, so we wouldn't have to buy a plow truck. Because we had that lower.
It saves labor costs, it reduces, it plows the
I know
streets
what I'm
better.
saying, and when he sold us, when he talked about that, and that was his sale pitch.
It
When
reduces
he
the
plow truck
amount
on.
of salt that we need.
Yeah, you still gotta have, some kind of truck to put down some salt. But our salt is down to a third of what it used to
About a
be.
third, at least a third.
So, the guy does save us some money. The bid up there to take and do Big Bend Drive was $70-some thousand. We got it done for just under 40. And that was with the help of us and Ross's grading and then bringing in, Waukesha. And Waukesha is gonna help us out with other streets, which they can do for a whole lot less than some of the other people that do streets.
So our principal payments for the John Deere, goes down to right below 16,000 for 24. The front loader stays steady at 32,400.
That's the same first.
It goes down just a little bit. The estimates at least.
Bill, you got a question?
Yeah, I remember years ago, they used sand and salt.
We do have a mixture of sand and salt that we use occasionally.
Do you? Because I
Yeah.
see a lot of salt being used by me.
Yeah, we have a mixture of both.
So I believe at least for the last 2 years, we've been able to not take all the salt that we've allocated and been able to sell it to other municipalities. In other words, we're not consuming the amount of salt that we used to.
And it's also beneficial to the environment, so we don't use as much salt.
Yeah.
And there's some areas we have to do that because of the river and stuff like that, the runoff.
What about the engineer? Who's the engineering firm?
There's a couple.
Kapar. And then we also use Applied Technologies, so we split that.
I don't know, because we got rid of applied technologies because the way Edgewood is. Like this, when it has the lakes on it.
Well, we use Applied for other things, Kapor we use for things like that. They both have benefits, and it's nice to have the two of them.
Maybe we can only afford one.
Well, same cost, would you have them split it, or could it be the same cost, or just have one do the whole thing? Each firm has its benefits one way or the other, so we try to use that.
John, how old is the equipment that the fire department has?
Well, this truck right now, engine is, I believe, 23 years old.
There's not much life left in that thing.
No, we've been keeping it up, but we gotta consider doing something different in the future here.
If you had to replace that this year, or next year or so, what would you estimate the cost for that to be?
Probably $750.
And then you probably have to wait a year or two to get one?
Couple years, 2-3 years.
Okay.
What about the ambulance?
Ambulances are in pretty good shape right now.
They're pretty new.
The last ambulance we purchased was 2010, Jimmy?
Yeah, 2010.
So, the reserve ambulance has, what is that on now?
No, 2003.
2003. Yeah, we purchased from New Orleans. And that one's, I mean, for as much as we use it, we do get multiple calls once in a while. We'll be using it now when other ambulance goes in to get its, the cut and everything like that put in from our grant. So for a reserve ambulance, it's good enough to get us by for a while.
Just one other thing I'll throw out there about taxes, and then I'll be quiet and let everybody else come tonight. If you guys received the same notice I did, school district, Mukwonago School District is looking to put a levy through to pay for a new middle school. And that means that they're looking for a basically a 0.69 rate increase. That'll mean that there's an overall 8.3% school district increase in the amount of taxes we'll pay for that. So it was proposed out there back when we were chewing about what we wanted to do with the police department. And it was suggested that potentially we should put through a referendum and raise $1, basically a 1.0 increase on the mill rate, which at the time would have increased us from 8.4 to 9.4, which would also, which would be a 12% increase in taxes. And again, with the Mukwonago School District, that's going to put another 8.3% total increase on our taxes at the same time if we would try to do that. It's a lot for a lot of people to try to bite off. I know that there's going to be people that said, heck, I'll be willing to pay more, but for every one of those people, there's going to be one or more people that's going to say they want higher taxes. It's just something where we can consider it, but I have to give caution to that. And then also going back out and putting low interest rate, picking up more long-term debt through low interest rate loans through the state, through bond loans. Because that's gonna again drive us right back up to our borrowing capacity. And we've been able to whittle that down, but we just don't have enough borrowing capacity to make a difference yet. We just can't sustain it. We gotta get rid of this $500,000 of debt we're paying off every year. Yeah, that's where
I
I'm at.
definitely feel it should be a referendum.
For what's that, for what?
Everyone should decide on that.
To raise taxes?
So here we go.
No, not raise taxes.
The same, the same
Whether it
people,
goes or not.
the same people basically come here to the village meetings every time. There's a few people I'm sure that are probably online watching. But we have, how many residents now?
1,500.
About 1,500. And we've got a vocal group, and I appreciate the vocalization that we get, but it's like 50 people out of that 1,500 at the most. I mean, we're not getting a good representation of what the rest of this community wants. If we go to a referendum, then fine, but it's, even that comes at a cost. I mean, you gotta do the studies, you gotta put it together, you just can't put it down on paper.
It costs-
We don't have a set aside to even do something like that.
It costs to run an election.
So, you know, I appreciate it. It's just, I'm throwing caution to anybody that's going to take over as a trustee here in the near future. You've got your hands full.
This is a tight budget. You know, and that's the way we're trying to run it, so we can whittle us down and still accomplish a few things.
In the last few years, we've been able to not incur additional debt and actually go down by $1 million in the last 4 or 5 years.
So let me challenge this back to the board. I've been kind of talking out here to the audience a little bit. Let me challenge it back to the board. Let me hear your thoughts on this. We've got a lot of programs and we've got a lot of costs that really need to be considered. Do we have anything that we can put forward to these? Can we put, instead of 50,000 for roads, can we do 250,000 a year for roads?
In the future.
Can we do 100,000 for benefits to try to attract in the right people that can fill the jobs and help us out? Can we set aside other things?
What we can do is we can give the people like a stipend to help them pay their insurance. And we do that in some areas now. And so, you know, instead of actually getting the insurance, we can pay that stipend so they can go out and do it themselves and help them cover the cost. So that's something we've done and we're working on. You know, can we put down more than 50,000? Not with the budget we presented. Can we put away more next year? Hopefully, yes. This is very, very tight, and we're open to so many ideas, you know, and it'd be so easy to raise taxes. And as far as, you know, if we raise taxes and they decide to vote yeah, it wouldn't be the end of the world for me.
You know, we caught flack over the issues with the police department when an opportunity presented itself where we could save the village $250,000 basically for maintaining the same level of service, you know, and you see what happened with that. You know, and that was, what could we do with $250,000? Maybe we could get a clerk, maybe a full, or another part-time person in DPW, you know, but
We don't
it
want to
didn't
be
pan out. It was an
cut.
opportunity that didn't pan out, but at least we had to look at it.
But if you look at this, every department came in and said, yeah, we can cut her a little bit.
So the money that is getting increased for DPW is strictly for hiring somebody new?
Primarily wages, yes.
For a new person, not for everybody else?
Well, he'll get a raise also. Everybody's gonna get a raise in the.
Well, I understand that, but the majority of that money is
Goes
going
towards
towards the new
another
body
person.
getting hired in.
Yes, yes.
The ideal thing would be hire another full-time person.
Of course.
Overall, it's pretty much a 6% raise.
That's pretty damn good.
It's what you have to pay, Bill. And then we're still way on the low side.
I've got a question on
That was concessions.
revenue.
That was concessions given by not only the fire department, but the police department too, because they were asking for more. Am I right?
How much revenue is raised off of the baseball fields?
4,000
Per field or both?
total.
On
Total?
And that's gone from 0 to 4,000.
Yeah, I know, it never was used.
Oh, it was used by one team.
Yeah, but not compared to what they use it now.
Correct.
I live on the other side of it, I know when they're there.
Yeah, so we have the Pumas on one field, and we have the Fox River Bandits and the Screaming Eagles on the other field.
What about the Rumble?
Rumble brings in a lot of revenue, and they can donate a lot of money to the parks, DPW. They bought a lot of extra equipment for the DPW down there. And they give about 30,000 a year, isn't that about what it is? 20 to 30,000.
The Rumble, yes, it looks good that they bring in a lot of money over the weekend.
Heavy expenses.
But the cost to go into it is huge, huge.
It's volunteers. You know, if we had to pay people to do what they do, it wouldn't even be affordable.
I think we contributed, what, 5,000 for the library sign?
Yeah.
And we had an
Help pay for that.
independent donor that contributed 25,000 for that sign.
The sign up front.
For the library, people said things about the library. You're gonna have about the same cost for the library, no matter what you have to do. Because you have to pay X amount of dollars to the Bridges library system, or you can put it into a library. The library may cost you $10,000, the way it's operating right now. And people love that little library. So,
So with all the money that comes in from the Rumble, does that just stay in the celebrations account and that's it? Or does the village get a portion of it back?
It's all part of the village. It goes into the LGIP for the celebrations, just like the cemetery has LGIP, the library has LGIP. Actually, all of our tax money, when it comes in, it goes to LGIP, and then we pull it out as needed. So you can make that extra interest off of that.
Did they pay a portion towards like the rental of the loader then during
Of the what?
setup?
Of the what?
The loader, how it grades everything down?
Yeah, they pay towards his salary.
Just asking
Yeah,
because.
the majority of that is volunteered
Right,
on his part.
but using the equipment of the village, I was just inquiring because I know we were discussing them paying towards the fire and EMS down there for this next
Oh,
year.
we do pay for that, yeah.
It would be much more efficient for them just to use that equipment than to rent out additional equipment.
No, I'm not saying to rent out, I'm just asking if they did put money towards using
Yeah,
it.
that's where they take and also donate a fair amount to the parks in the village. And, you know, I think what we set aside for parks that was coming in prior to celebrations was like $2,000 a year. You can't maintain that, can't cut the grass for that. And then again, they just bought new benches for the village. They bought a memorial type bench for the
Three
chief.
people. 3 people.
Picnic table.
Picnic tables. So, a lot of money comes back to the village from that.
And just for information, it's been going around that the village contributed to the Jumbotron. Our village has put nothing towards that Jumbotron.
Yeah, that was all celebrations.
Yeah,
Yes,
they pay for it. And it's still a piece of village equipment.
yes, it is ours.
And at some point, we may look at renting that out to different people to use.
I remember Eric talking about that.
But the problem is we have 2 people who can run the thing, and that's all volunteer that have to do it.
So is it fair to say that no taxpayer money goes to support Mama Library?
Absolutely, nothing, nothing.
I think that's very important for people to hear, because there's a lot of, well, we're paying for this and we don't need to, and we should just get rid of it because, I don't want my tax dollar going for that. Tax dollars do not go for the rubble.
You've been,
Do that.
It does bring in a lot of money for the village. You know, they use our gas station, they use our bars, use our restaurants.
I've been asked, speaking of stuff like the Rumble and things that can help celebrate Big Bend, I've been asked by a few citizens. I don't know when it ended. I'm sure some people can tell me, but there used to be a parade here in town. People have said maybe we should have a parade again.
I think it'd be fantastic. And I think your mom ran that most of the time. But she's involved in it. Oh, you ran it? Well, we got a volunteer right there.
When was the last year we had a parade, James?
1999, I believe was our last year, 2000, one of those 2 years.
Yeah,
Was
it's
it-
been that long, yeah.
Was it very heavily attended?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Why did we end it?
Volunteers.
Same, same problem with everything else, volunteers.
Yeah, it was well attended.
And it's not cheap to put it on.
No, you have to spend
You have to
money.
pay for the bands, you have to pay
Yeah.
them to show up, and
Mhm.
it's, I would love to see fireworks.
Do you remember how much it was?
You want $1990?
Yeah.
We actually pulled off the parade, if I remember correct, was right around $10,000 was our budget.
So can we use the fireworks money?
But we also had the festival
Use
in
it
the
for
park.
general fund.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we are looking at doing Rumble.
Would you rather do
And I'm
that or
not-
have your road paved?
Now,
Right.
doesn't the fireworks permit money kind of get back towards law enforcement? Direct?
Goes in
or no?
general fund.
General funds, okay.
But we
I
are
thought
looking at,
the truck, I thought the truck was helped paid for
They
by-
actually, the Macro Fireworks donated money
Oh,
towards.
donated, direct, okay, sorry, I didn't.
a lot of it comes from the inspections that Jamie does. A fair
The
amount.
salvage.
Salvage, yeah.
That's right.
Well, we are looking at doing some stuff in the park, like we want to do a pickleball where the tennis courts are. You know, but that takes money. There's a good possibility that celebrations may help us out with that. We like to do music in the park, you know, like some other communities do. Bring in bands, kind of like what you do at the Rumble. Have food trucks there and liquor and stuff like that, so we could make some, it wouldn't be just be a cost, it would be we could make some money off it too. But
One of the things I forgot to mention and kind of related to the park is the boat ramp. Talked to Eric about that, especially with the readjustment of the river due to the fact that Waukesha is now, city of Waukesha is returning the water back to Lake Michigan. Water level is going to be more than likely down, and there's going to have to be repairs and adjustments made to the boat ramp eventually.
When I was on the Fox River Commission, I had asked that exact question, how much would the water volume be reduced? And they told me it was be minimal, if anything. And that was a number of years ago, but
You still have a lot of lakes feeding into that river.
Yeah.
Pewaukee Lake, Phantom Lake.
yes.
There's a lot still feeding into that
Because
river.
that was my concern too, and they assured me that it would,
Well, even if you don't need to do the adjustment to it, it still is going to be in need of repair. We don't have any set aside for that.
The funds from the parking fees, or the parking fees down there are supposed to go to that.
they do go to
Yeah,
it,
the
but
boat launch
there's
fees.
not much there.
Yeah,
$1,500.
$1,500 or so. That's interesting.
There's,
That was supposed to be set up in a separate account to pay
It
for
is.
the boat launch, so I don't know.
it is, but there's probably more people that don't pay it than do pay it.
$1,355.90. 90 cents, how did we get to 90 cents?
Because people don't pay what they're supposed to pay.
They just threw
It's
a
$5.
couple
You
of
can't go
those in
take and launch a boat anywhere other than for $5 anymore. And I'm glad to pay it. But one thing about the river down here is, you've got a huge recreational lake down here, Lake Michigan, with a lot of expensive homes. They're gonna keep that lake up.
there. You'd think, yeah.
You wanna see half raised, start reducing their water levels, and there's some pretty nice facilities for homes
like
there.
I said, there are a lot of issues with like when I was in Fox River, because especially like from Bridge Street going down, the sediment that's in there, and I forget the name of that bay that's off to the west there.
James Bay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of sediment in there, and there was a lot of concern, you know, all along with not only the pollutants that are going into there, but there were concerns about water levels. But yeah, they would be concerned too, with the water levels going down so much. I actually got stuck there one year.
So anybody have any ideas at all besides taxes? Can't hardly cut anymore. Pretty lean. We can continue to try to develop up by the intersection, which it looks like we're gonna get a little bit of development up there.
So I would say don't treat businesses that are trying to come in here like you treated the Petersons, because that word spreads fast. You know what I'm saying? Who wants to be here if this board's gonna hammer the hell out of you to get your business going?
So at the same time, there was another development that's still going on, which is Ripplebrook East, and I don't think that we've had any conflict with anything that they're doing over there. There's been other businesses that have come in and redeveloped area in the industrial.
We never have a problem with the subdivisions, but like his subdivision, the road's not even, I don't even know if the road's part of the village. So it shouldn't be, because it was only one layer of asphalt put down.
It is a village road, yes.
I know, but it doesn't have 2 layers of asphalt on it.
It was down. It
No,
just did, not too long ago.
No,
No, not for the Windwalker.
Oh, no, I was thinking.
We got mastic on it, Larry.
I was
So-
wrong.
the end of it's so, like, that's why I drop off kids.
So Bob, what I was told is that they looked the other way and let the developer walk and go to bankruptcy. And there wasn't much on the set aside that was left in the bank account to try to finish it off. Now to try to get them their road that should have been there how many years ago? 15?
But they wanted the village to click in on it, like chip in on it. Why would it be the village's responsibility? You can go bankrupt. You know?
That's what I mean. This is a long time before I walked in.
I
But
know.
now the village is,
I don't know, that's how
the
we
village,
checked on the board.
the village has almost $1 million to, just for that road right there. 750 to $1 million.
Yeah, it's a lot of road.
Yeah.
That's why it's not getting fixed, Bob. It's one of the worst in the village.
That amazed me whenever I heard that the contractor was just allowed to do his thing and then go bankrupt and didn't really dodge
The
out.
bank owns it, and the bank.
There's not much you can do when somebody goes bankrupt. The bank took it back and
That's frustrating.
got what money they could out of it and left. You know, that was something that happened to a lot of developers. You know, they got caught short in 2008. You know, when they were expecting to have some pretty nice developments.
But it is a Big Bend road by ordinance now, or?
Yeah,
When did that get adopted? That was,
well, it's been quite a while ago.
it's been a long time. It wasn't recent.
No, it's
We'll have to see that ordinance.
8-10 years ago, hasn't it, Gene?
It's never, as far as I'm aware, it's never been an official village road.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah,
That was part of that agreement when we got that money from Waterston Bank. The village took.
Because then if it's not part of the village, then we can stop following it and to see what money.
Wow. It is. Just have to drive it forward up there.
I mean, if I drove my bus down there, I'd want a problem, but I don't.
I mean, you see the roads. You see how some of them are.
Well, you know, the problem is you have to be able to get emergency services in there. So if you don't have plowed roads and you can't get emergency services in there, you've got a huge liability.
Well, I grew up down here, Riverside Drive down, and there's, what, 8 houses down there. They never crossed that thing. Never. 'Cause
Times have
it wasn't a
changed,
big
Bob,
road.
you know, they really have changed. And there weren't as many lawsuits back then as there is
Yeah, well,
today. Boy, everybody's lining up for whatever they can fill their pockets with.
too many lawyers, that's the problem.
Yeah, they're all making money. Look at, every one of them spending a ton of money on ads on television. So they're not getting
You
it.
call lawyers, go over, put your lawyer go over the cliff, good start.
So this is nothing that's gonna get resolved immediately, but it's all things that we, as a village, have to consider moving forward. The one thing I'm going to challenge the next board with, and even before that, the board that's right here right now, if we adopt this tonight, we need to start tomorrow on the budget for '25. We cannot do what we've done in the past. I say this every year, and when pounded through, as long as I sit on this board, we have to start developing next year's budget immediately so that we can negotiate, so we can go out and get the bids that we need, and not just throw darts at a wall to try to get numbers in September and October to try to get it approved at the last minute in November. I've even asked this question. Right now, tonight, we are the last community in Waukesha to submit their taxes into the county. That's pathetic. That's not a list you want to be on.
Yeah.
That's horrifying to me. That means right now tonight, if I was to throw out a motion and say we need to table this so that we can go back and take a second look at this and see if there's anything we would be able to improve, some set-asides or throw money at some of these programs that I've discussed tonight, we would be at default with the county and the state. And I don't like that, because if anybody would have been here tonight that would have given a comment that went, oh crap, we really need to go back and look at that, we wouldn't be able to. And that's not fair to anybody.
We can do that, Tony, we just won't get our tax bills out.
Well, that's why we would be in default, Jeff.
Right. This,
We need to do it like every other community does, and set it so that we have these budgets available in third quarter, and we're just fine tuning it, running into the first part of fourth quarter. So we can get those tax bills out and have time to go back and readjust if we need to.
I agree, we can start earlier.
I
You
think
have no idea how much time a finance committee spends on this. We have to get together every single department head, because they have different things they want to ask for. And we go through every single line item with every department head of what they want.
And sometimes numerous times.
Yes, sometimes.
there's some negotiations that have to happen by contract in different parts of the year. It's not all set here.
Absolutely, but if there's no money there to even ask for a contract,
I get it. But believe me, I get it.
But you don't want to be last on the list.
certain numbers don't even come out to where you could start tomorrow. You gotta know halfway know where you're at before you can even start looking at a budget.
Yeah, I agree. That's why we need somebody with an accounting background that can tell us where we're at. When was the last audit? What was the last year that we got an audit on?
Well, they audit us every year.
Yeah, they're working on last year's audit right now.
Okay, for 22? Wouldn't 22 normally come out in like July?
Well,
July of 23? Not July
Well,
of 24.
when I got back here, nothing was done on the bank statements or anything. So I had to start back from the day I left, coming forward.
Okay. Well, even, and thank you for getting that in order, but even there, we don't have anything going to see where we were at on our accuracy for 22 to budget 24. That's a problem into itself. Whenever you're taking a look at accounting, you have to look at backwards as well as forward. It's just the law of the land. You gotta get as
Our
much
books
data as
weren't
you
even
can.
straight when these gals came in and started doing this. Yeah.
I'm just pointing all this stuff out. I'm just.
Oh, we
it's just-
know it, Tony.
We're aware of it.
I know we're aware of it, but the people on that and the people sitting out here may not be. Have you guys learned stuff tonight that you didn't know before? Okay.
Well, we appreciate you going through it. Do we know that there's stuff out there that one disaster and we're in major trouble?
Well, actually, no, there'd be grants to cover that if we had a disaster. But if something happens, like I said, if somebody backs into this doorway wrong and they crush a corner of that place, I don't know how much insurance would kick in on it, but the rest of it would come out of our pockets. And we'd be tapping into that 50 grand set aside for roads in a heartbeat.
Just like the heaters that we have to do here, the last 3 years, we had to take and do HVAC units on this whole building.
Yeah. So I'm curious, at the end of '24, how much of that 50,000 is still left in there?
Yeah.
What is the Jumbotron note?
You know how much it is. off the top.
It was originally like 60.
Yeah.
And
I
it's.
mean, I thought we borrowed the money,
Celebrations pays it.
you know,
They pay the,
why don't they just pay that high? Don't they have a crap load of money in the bank?
don't they?
Yeah.
Well, the majority of what they have in the bank, they use as operating expense for the following year. They put out over
Do you ever
100,000.
rent that thing? That was one of his selling points too, he's gonna rent that
Yeah,
thing.
that's something that
That's discussed earlier.
is okay to be done.
We're investigating contracts, rental contracts, and again, it's having people operate it.
And there's liability issues too,
Yeah.
if something happens to it when it's there, or,
Insurance, etc.
yeah.
That Jumbotron is a piece of village equipment, and it's being paid by Celebrations Committee, which is a subcommittee of the village.
I mean, I know the woman that used to rent us the other one, and she did it for, I don't know, it was a pretty minimal fee. So when we bought this one, I thought, why are we even doing that?
I find that hard to believe when we're looking at $2,000 a week, a day,
Yeah,
for what we looked
yeah,
into it.
$5,000 to $10,000 a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy what they get for them.
To rent it?
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
$10,000 a week?
Yep.
So we need to get ours.
Is that what they're looking to rent it out for?
No,
They're
it's
not, these are bids that we have gotten from other
That's what they're
places
paying.
that have Jumbotron.
What are they offering to rent it out for? Has it actually been
Like
listed?
$2,000 a day.
Is that what it costs to run it? What does it cost to run it?
Just electricity.
Right.
Set it up.
It costs to run it and do all the software, so Pearson has to run the software on it.
And they're volunteers.
So in other words, they're not getting paid to.
No, they do not.
So essentially, other than setting up the software, it's electricity to run it. Is the cost, is what you're saying.
I'm sorry, I kind of missed part of that. The
Uh,
electric-
So the cost to run it, other than having a volunteer spend some time setting up the software, the essential cost is electricity. So most,
Primarily.
That's
so
why
most of the cost would be
whoever
revenue,
would be renting it would
but that
provide
would,
power.
okay.
It doesn't come with a generator.
You know, and they put in the electricity up there for that. They put in the electricity down by the track,
Lights.
and the lights. They put a lot of money into that park down there.
Hopefully, they'll be able to have other events because of the lighting and the improvements back there. I think they should bring in snowmobile races.
Well, that farm rescue event's coming back
Yep.
with John Deere again.
No. Yeah, farm, is it farm rescue?
Yeah.
Not rescue, but
It's
that's
when
not
people
John
come
Deere,
in
is
and they
it?
go to farms to help out the farmers.
Oh, and John Deere.
And John Deere.
Yeah. Yeah, and they will be here volunteering, and some of our funds will be going to help support them.
Are they gonna advertise earlier than this last
This is
time,
not
I
the,
hope?
it's not the same
Okay.
thing as the giant
Cornhole.
Yeah. Now that was,
It was interesting.
it was interesting, I'll give you that, yeah.
And that was, one of the beer companies was involved in that.
Bud
too.
Light, Bud Light,
Bush.
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 You know, what did I bring?
Oh, God, no, don't do it.
I mean, we could sell the Jumbotron, it's not gonna make us, it's not gonna do much.
Just, every little thing helps though.
Everything helps, that's right.
But that doesn't come out of our budget, so why we're even discussing that, I don't.
Cause it's in the budget.
It's
It's in the budget.
it's in there, but none of our taxpayer money goes towards that.
But
So
Then why
it,
is it-
Yeah,
it
but the
it
village,
has
the
no bearing
celebrations,
on
the
our,
celebrations is part of the village. The money that they make
is
helps
not,
the village somehow.
does not
Oh,
go
absolutely.
against the taxpayers.
I'm talking
Taxpayer
about,
funded.
Yeah, they put funds
is,
towards,
is celebrations a committee of the village?
yes,
Subcommittees.
subcommittee of the.
Why aren't the meetings here? Why are they down there where you can drink at the Lions Club?
I mean, if it makes you feel better.
Are
we
they,
have-
are
have
they,
it up
are
here.
they, are people,
They're open meetings.
are they?
Yeah, they're posted.
Well, I think people wouldn't go down there because it's down there. If they were here, they might go to it.
That's your choice.
Is that too far to go?
No, it just seems like it's a little party for themselves.
Well, you're welcome to go to the party if you want.
Oh, yeah, no.
Okay.
I wish it was a party. I don't party when I'm there, sorry.
I mean, we could entertain trying to liquidate assets of the village, whether it's by subcommittee or not, but I don't know that that's really going to get us much distance on things.
That was just a question.
We could liquidate a lot, but. That's it? Anyone?
Put it on the state auction page.
Alright.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, we can move forward then and, go to new business, which is discussion, consideration, and approval of the resolution 2023-09, adopting the 2024 village budget. Anyone want to make a motion?
Make a motion to table make a motion to table this resolution until such time as we can reconsider some of the revenue versus expenditures on the budget.
I'll second.
Any other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. We don't have a majority of the vote to pass it.
Fair enough.
So, do we have a motion to approve the budget? The resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2023-09.
I'll second.
Any other comments?
I'm going to stand opposed to this for the simple fact that I would like to have us go back to reconsider some of the funding and see if there's any additional funds that we can put forth to some of the set-asides and capital reserves. I appreciate the fact of all the hard work that's went in. Do not take that as anything personal against the three individuals that have been on the finance committee. I believe that you've done an outstanding job of being able to take a look at it, reduce the amount of tax burden on the village residents, and be able to give us money to where it is, but this is basically standing my ground on the fact of how we need to look at the budget from a wider perspective.
You've had this for a while now, and you're looking at it. Where did you come up with anything that we could take and make some adjustments?
I've thrown myself on the line several times to take a look at things through shared services, through other things of that nature. If we're not willing to bend on any of the current services that we have, then we're in a stalemate.
What exactly are you looking at to bend? Where?
Well, our largest budgets, our largest budget items, first and foremost, is debt. You cannot do anything with that. It is an obligation that we have to pay that amount of debt. It's not like we're paying extra. We're paying the minimal amount, correct, Kelly? We're not paying a dime more. Our next largest budgets are police and fire. We've challenged those. We've taken a look at those. We've not gotten anywhere. So, can we get rid of the library? Can we get rid of DPW? Should we get rid of administrative? Because I don't know what other caches we have that we put into.
Actually, we have gotten somewhere, because the initial budget for the police department was roughly $500,000. The chief brought back a revised budget that was roughly $430,000. He actually came back with a reduced budget of over $70,000, correct?
Basically took out the extra officer that he was.
There are other concessions made by the police union as far as their wage requests. They came in and reduced a secondary proposal that was less than what they initially had proposed. And I believe the fire department's budget is less than it was the year before. You know, I don't know where you want us to get anything from. You brought your point up before, where we're at. I don't know where we can squeeze any other money from.
I don't think it's gonna help you a bit to get rid of the library. We
I
can go out.
wasn't suggesting that. I was just simply saying that the library is the most efficiently run thing we have. No, I would never suggest that we do it, but I'm just, you said, where else do we cut? There's not a plethora of area that we have on a $1.5 million budget. It's just not. If we were 30 million, 300 million, then yes, there's a lot more places to take a look at.
We've gone out, we've looked at everything, every area to share services, including DPW. It's gonna cost us more to contract DPW than it is to run ours. Muskego laughed at us when we asked them about shared services. They said, you better keep what you got, because you're underpaying your DPW guy by a long shot. They just hired their new DPW guy in Vernon at $90,000. And he gets all his work done
Plus
primarily
benefits.
outside.
But they also have a lot more
Oh, yeah,
roads to take care of.
right.
That's just his salary,
But
plus benefits.
he's more of an administrative DPW guy too. I mean, is this village willing to cut celebrations? It sounds like it. They give that up before police and fire. Are they willing to cut DPW? It sounds like maybe they are.
And then who would we get the contract for cheaper than what we're currently paying? To have your snow, your.
Celebrations we could cut, but it's not gonna do us a look of good.
No.
It's a net neutral thing.
Right.
The only thing that we would get out of is liquidation of assets.
Cemetery, I mean, that's something we just have to maintain. We've actually done better out there with raising funds for the cemetery fund.
Yeah, so we've got, sorry, I have it written down here. The LGIP currently, sorry, here it is. Right now, we've got 117,000 and change in there. There's another 11,400 and change. Looks like it's in there as well. So that's for perpetuity. The cost estimates right now to develop the second half of that have consumed the area. So that's something that we need to weigh, whether it's this board or the next. We have to weigh the factor and close the cemetery down and just keep it sustained, or are we going to continue to allow expansion? It's things we have to consider. Jeff, all I'm doing is just trying to get the philosophical base out there of where we're at. I'm not really opposed to all of this. I'm more so wanting to make sure that you guys are giving your arguments back like you're doing right now. That's what everybody needs to hear. Everybody needs to hear of what pickle we're in. And whenever we're challenged to try to find ways to find more money for this village to do what we need to do, without driving us past the point that nobody's gonna wanna live here because of the amount of tax that we have, or do business in this town, where they could move right next door and do it for cheaper. They have to understand that it's not a personal thing, and that we have to take a look at what services we have and what we do as a village to try to get better at it and to try to get more stuff so that we can take a look at funding all the stuff on this piece of paper that I went through.
And
That's where I'm at on it. That's not upset at you, it's not upset at anybody here, it's upset at the fact that every time that we try to do something to try to reach that balance, we get our heads bit off on it, with no suggestions of where we're going to go. You guys have put in countless hours to try to get this done. But I still have to sit here and try to challenge it so I can hear all this stuff.
That's fine, I appreciate that.
And
I
that's where
think
I'm at.
every board that has sat in this room, who knows how long, has gone through these same challenges. You know, nobody's had any money to set out there and throw around it and nothing. You know, we've made great progress. I know we have since I've been on the board at getting some debt paid down, getting the little debts paid down.
$1 million, that's 20% in the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
We're working our way there, but
That's better than what was done the prior 8 years.
convince me what we can do by tabling this and going back and forth to save enough to really make any difference.
what I got by suggesting to table this is this conversation right here. That's what I was looking for.
Okay?
And this is a message not just to you guys, but to future boards, that you cannot ignore this, and you cannot go back down the same pathway that you did to get us into the pickle we're in with all the debt. There has to be a balance. It's law of economics.
I mean, just, you know, we saw the uproar over the police department, and, you know, I said I wouldn't be doing my job if an opportunity presented before us where we could save $250,000 a year on our police department. I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't even consider that. You know, for something that was proposed to us that was gonna maintain basically the same level of service. Yeah, it didn't pan out, but I had an obligation to look at it.
You try.
You know, and, you know, $250,000 to a little village like this over 4 years, that's $1 million. That's another 20% of the debt. Maybe we can afford to hire a full-time clerk. And a number of other things.
Health benefits for our employees.
Yes, to draw
Repair
people
this
in.
building, the face of this building, it's falling apart.
But, you know, that is something that, you know, a lot of people didn't understand, but me personally, I think when an opportunity presented itself, I had to consider it. You know, maybe, yeah, like you said, there's a very vocal part of our community, but there's another 1,400 people out there that either aren't aware or they're not as vocal as the people that are. But I'm not looking out just for those 50 or 100 people that are vocal. I'm trying to look out for everybody. Not just the ones that are allowed us.
Tough task.
We are making progress, it's slow. And you know, you can blame the old, but I tell you what, they ran into the same situation we are. They had roads to repair, they made an investment in the future, it didn't come as quick as what they were hoping it would. They did take and bring in great developments of your subdivision, Lake Park, you know, all these others. I mean, look where we'd be at without those different subdivisions being built. Look at the amount of annexation they brought into this. From what I understand, I didn't live here, but basically doubled the size.
Sure. When I moved here 30 years ago, Big Bend was roughly 1 square mile. Now it's a little over 3.
But we're closed.
Right, Jim?
We're closed.
Yes, sir.
We're closed in now. I mean, they did what they could to. They can help us get going,
No, I completely agree.
and we're trying to do what we can to take it down the next road till we can get a little bit more of this paid off, get a little more development done. Like I said, we've got some development looking up there.
Yeah, and I'm very excited about the future too. I really am. I think that we have a lot of exciting stuff coming our way, a lot to be discovered.
Convince me where we can do anything to change this.
Jeff, I can't convince you of any place,
You know,
but I
assure you
still
we
have to
look.
provoke this conversation. That's all it is.
Okay, we provoked it. But what more do you want said?
I'm not looking for anything else. I
We-
think we're at a close on it.
We can get there a little bit at a time, 1 year at a time. But it's gonna take people that wanna set in these unpopular jobs and do the best they can.
I agree.
So, with that being said, we have a motion to accept the resolution and a second. Unless we have any other conversation, I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
Mike, did you vote?
Yes,
Okay. So that passes, and Tracy voted no on that. Thank you. With that, we'll close this hearing, and thank you everybody for your input, coming, muchly appreciated. So,
Make a motion to adjourn.
all in favor?
I,
That's better than Mike. Remember Mike would always abstain?
Tom?
Would always abstain. He can't do a question.
I got a meeting with the CEO.
I missed mine. Thanks, guys. Hey,
safe travels.
my buddy,
Look out for the other guy.
during his travels, came home with a bottle of Cares and Crossing for me. And said, here, Merry Christmas. Nice, yeah.
Jamie Helston's.
Here's Alden.
Always good having you.
Yeah,
Good travel.
the travel,
Very
yeah.
miles home.
To be continued.
Always is.
Take care. Did you get everything squared away today? You said Jamie,
Renee, how you doing?
everything got squared away?
Yeah, everything that I know